Hey there, I'm Benjamin from Loves Data. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install Google Tag Manager on Google Sites. If you've seen other tutorials on this topic, you've probably been told to use the embed option. However, this doesn't work, and I'll explain why in a moment. Okay, let's jump in and let's head to Google Sites. I've already opened Google Sites. Before I show you the steps to install Google Tag Manager, I want to mention a few things. First, if you're looking to use Google Tag Manager to install Google Analytics or Google Ads tags on Google Sites, then I recommend you consider using the built-in integration that Google provides. I'll show you how to do this later in the video. You can even connect Google Analytics to Google Ads to make use of both platforms. So that's something you should consider. Second, Google doesn't have a built-in integration with Google Tag Manager. This means that while the method we're going to cover works, I can't guarantee it will continue to work. For example, if Google makes a change to Google Sites, this solution might break. So I encourage you to test it out to ensure it works on your site. Finally, you will need to set up your domain using Cloudflare to use the solution we're about to cover. If you're not sure how to do this, let me know in the comments and check out the extra resources in the description for help. Okay, now let's head to Cloudflare. I already have my domain connected to Cloudflare, and as we can see, I've also configured the CNAME record for Google Sites. We're going to use Cloudflare to inject the Google Tag Manager container code on Google Sites. To do this, we need our website to be proxied through Cloudflare. To do this, let's edit the CNAME record. And let's enable the proxy. Now let's click Save. The next step is to create a Cloudflare Worker. To do this, let's navigate back to our account home. Now we select Compute on the left, and then Workers and Pages. If you're wondering, a Cloudflare Worker is a small piece of code that runs on Cloudflare's servers, and it lets you modify elements on your website. To create a worker, let's click Create Application. Now let's select Start with Hello World, and let's give the worker our own name. Now let's click Deploy. The next step is to edit the code for our worker. To do this, let's click Edit Code on the top right corner. Let's select all of the default code and delete it. Now we need to add our own code. I've already copied the code we need to use, so I'm going to paste this code. You can find a link to get the code I'm using in the description below this video. We need to edit the code to include our container ID from Google Tag Manager. To get our container ID, let's head to Google Tag Manager. I've already opened my container and we can see the container ID at the top. Let's copy this. Now let's head back to Cloudflare. And let's paste our container ID into the code. And let's click Deploy. Next, we need to navigate back. And we need to open our domain. To do this, let's select Domains and then Overview. And select our domain. Now that our domain has loaded, let's select Workers Routes on the left. And click Add Route. We need to add a route. This tells Cloudflare when the worker should be used on our website. We want Google Tag Manager to be added to all of the pages of our website. So let's enter **. Then we enter our website's domain, followed by /*. Next, we use the drop-down to select our worker. And now we click Save. This means the worker will now be used for all of the pages on our website. And the worker code we added will inject the Google Tag Manager container code into all of the pages of our website. To test this is working, let's head back to Google Tag Manager. And let's click Preview. We enter the URL of our website. And click Connect. Our website loads, and Tag Assistant loads. Now let's open the Tag Assistant tab. And we can see our Google Tag Manager container has loaded. We've now installed Google Tag Manager on Google Sites using Cloudflare. Next, I want to cover why the embed option doesn't actually work. Let's head to Google Sites. The method I've seen covered in other tutorials is to use the embed option. This is where you select embed for an individual page. Choose embed code, and then paste the Google Tag Manager container code. However, this option doesn't actually work. When you use this, the code isn't added directly to your page. Instead, the code is encoded and loaded inside a sandboxed iframe on a separate domain. This means Google Tag Manager is isolated from your website and isn't actually loaded. To see this, I'm going to paste the container code from another Google Tag Manager container I've set up. And now let's click Next, and then Insert. You then have the option of adjusting the size and position of the embedded code, but let's leave this and click Publish. And click Publish again. Now let's open the website. And let's right-click and select View Page Source. Now let's search for the container ID. We can see the container code has been encoded and it's added inside an iframe. This Google Tag Manager container won't load on our website. Before we wrap up, let's cover the steps to use Google's built-in integration for Google Analytics. Since the method we've covered using Cloudflare is not officially supported by Google, there's a chance it might break in the future. It's also important to mention that some features like embedded content might not be compatible with Cloudflare, so you'll need to test this out for your website. This means in some cases it might be safer to use Google's built-in Google Analytics integration. To use this option, let's navigate to Settings by clicking the configuration icon. Then we select Analytics on the left. We can then paste our measurement ID from Google Analytics. And then ensure the integration is enabled. This is the best way to add Google Analytics to Google Sites. And just to highlight, if you're switching the way you add Google Analytics to your site, ensure you're only using one method at a time. If you have Google Analytics installed on your website twice, this can cause issues. So that's how you can install Google Tag Manager on Google Sites. Test it out and let me know how you go. And please remember, this isn't officially supported by Google, so it's worth keeping an eye on things to ensure nothing breaks on Google Sites. If you found this video helpful, please like it so I know to make more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.